Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you all lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want to go!
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Tonight I am not Dan Fudge. It is me, Ash. I'm in the hosting chair. And tonight, yes, we've convinced Holly to come back. I'm joined by Holly, Stevie and Simon. Holly, you all right?
Hello. You didn't even know I'd gone, did you?
No, didn't even know.
Top quality content while I've been gone, that's why.
Award-winning.
Before we get stuck in, please, if you like, subscribe on videos and helps all the algorithms, as I keep saying when I host, because I don't understand it all. But please do that. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, and no doubt these guys here have got some opinions on what's happened in the last week of being a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Before we get to the bad, should we start with the good? So we had a little trip to Norwich earlier on the week. It was the second of two away games that we faced. Obviously, a long trip to Plymouth and then to Norwich. So it's, let's get into it. Come on, we've got a lot to talk about. So Norwich are up. Here we go. Starting line straight away. Here we go. Beadle, Valentin, Hinekwe, Max Lowe, Johnson, Shea Charles, Ingleson, Patterson, Bannon, Gassama, and Windass. So I think the question that was on everybody's lips and on X and all the other socials, Holly, Shea Charles, would you have started him with the yellow card hanging over his head?
So in the Plymouth game, I feel like there were points where he was holding back, and I don't think that any player should play with that. So, like, he's either play properly or don't. So it depends on whether he had one eye on the derby or not. I probably think I wouldn't have played him, and that's not because I think he would have won us the derby. I was very pessimistic about the derby. I'm not gonna lie. So I thought he might just be able to hold him back. So I think I honestly probably wouldn't have played him unless we desperately needed him. I think we could have sort of managed it without. And then I can see Stevie's face already, but I feel like I probably wouldn't have risked it.
Stevie, with the face you've got on there, I'm assuming you'd want I'm going to go with play him and get the 3 points in the bag, or the potential of 3 points in the bag.
I genuinely cannot remember what I said on last week's show. I think I went backwards and forwards with it 2 or 3 times, didn't I? And then ended up sort of doing a 180, if you like. I think he didn't really impact the game at Norwich, did he? And I know people will come on here and probably take the piss tonight and say that he didn't impact the game yesterday. However, in the cold light of day, with foresight rather than hindsight, if you like, I think looking at the way that we set off last week, last Tuesday, it weren't great, were it? And we'll get into it. However, before kickoff, I was quite happy with the lineup myself.
Si, what was your thoughts on Charles? Obviously with a potential yellow card, which could miss the next game, which was Sunday. Would you have played him?
Yeah, Danny's got his eye further on the prize, not just on what happened yesterday. We're trying to glean as many points as we possibly can, and he saw that there was a possible 3 points at Norwich. He didn't think that it was worth saving because the 3 points was probably more likely to get at Norwich than it would have been on Sunday. So, he's looking at the greater prize of, winning a derby would be nice, but we want to try and push as close to the post as we possibly can. And by having Shea Charles in the side, that gives us more of a chance. Bear in mind, though, at 45, 46, he subbed him. So he took him off the second half anyway. and saved him.
Well,
But
became good.
yeah, so you know, he's got his. He wasn't obsessed on a certain day with a certain team. He's looking at the bigger prize, and the
I
bigger
think
prize
that's
is.
the difference, though, in it between fans and non-fans. Like, if he's looking at it objectively, Norwich is the more likely points than the derby. So play him, just get that over the line. Nothing's a guarantee anyway. So playing him, I mean, he could have just got sent off after 1 minute of the derby. So what are you saving him for, really? So, but as fans, you want your best players playing against the team that you want to beat, really. And if we'd have lost to Norwich but beat Sheffield United, and Shea Charles scores a goal off his ass, we'd have all been loving the decision, wouldn't we? But, you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it worked out that he didn't miss it, didn't it? And you know, and he obviously saw that Charles wasn't making what he wanted after the first 45 minutes and subbed him anyway. So,
yeah, well, we will get to that. We'll get to that. We're going ahead of ourselves. I know we want to get through it and want to get to the main course. As Slappy's been on, he says, Ash, before we get to the main course, let's enjoy the sharing platter first. And we will do that. That is Norwich. So, yes, quite a few Wednesday nights on a Tuesday night made it to Norwich. There is some silly sods in our fan base, and they will go anywhere and everywhere. It doesn't matter what day, what time. So big up to you guys. And I bet you thought after 45 minutes that was the wrong decision. But yes, let's get. So I've got down here, I've got a few little notes, just little pointers that we've got. And I think the first half that I can remember seeing and watching is that Sainz managed to go 1-0 up and scored his first goal in 4 months. Sheffield Wednesday doing Sheffield Wednesday things. It's fantastic, isn't it? Again, it was poor defending for me again. Just let him through. The ball was just easy. I think it was Maxlow that was caught napping. But yeah, he and a good easy finish from just side-footed it into past Beadle. And I bet that was, I bet it didn't go down too well after 16 minutes.
We get guys, a lot of goals down that side, though, don't we? And I think that's been a thing all season. Everyone's been blaming Marvin Johnson or whatever, but it hasn't been Marvin Johnson, and it's still coming down that side. Every team identifies that as our weak spot, and it's true every week. It's that side. So I don't know whether that's the midfield not helping out as much on that side as they are on the other side, or what it is that's making it our weak point, because we've changed players on that side and it still comes down that way. Yeah,
well, and 20 minutes later, I know we're going through it. Anyone want to offer anything else up? Because for me, the first half was just the 2 goals. We didn't offer anything in the first half.
I've got a controversial take on all 3 goals that we've conceded last week, and I'll go with it. And I'm ready. I'm going to put my hard hat on. I would hold, in some way, shape, or form, accountable for all 3 goals Paul Valentin. I think he was at fault for the first goal at Norwich the other night. The Sainz just drifts off him, and he doesn't look at him once. He doesn't look at him one moment. I think there's an argument that Beadle could potentially do better. It wasn't in the bottom corner, but Sainz has just drifted, and Valentin had no idea where he was. He's run off him, and he's coming from that side, and then just bent it into the bottom corner. The second goal, everybody just switched off. It was a poor goal to concede, and you couldn't hold anybody culpable. But the player that seemed to be the one that was on his arse a little bit was Valentin again. If you go back and have a look at it, they're the Norwich ones. I'm going to pause before we get to the main course, if you like.
But equally, if we stop the cross, it's nowhere near Valentin anyway. If we stop them from even trying to put that ball in, which we never ever do. I would like to know. I'm not a stats knobhead, but sorry, I swore. I broke the seal on it. Sorry. I'm not a stats knobhead, but I'd like to see how many crosses we actually stop from getting in the box, because it must be very low. It must be very low.
Yeah, I agree with Steve in regards to he's the last man, isn't it? That we've conceded so many goals at that far post when a ball's been crossed in, and you think to yourself, who is actually covering that last man, and we saw it again yesterday and on a couple of occasions, one of which led to the goal. But yeah, but what Paul, it's that decision making, isn't it, with Paul? So what he lacks in defensive capabilities, he makes up for in attacking capabilities. It's which way you go. But they're all not innocent, as Holly said. We've got to be cutting those crosses out, haven't we? And defending them better from midfield, rather than leaving it just to one man to mess up on the back post and allow the striker in.
Yeah, and Liam said that he's not a defensive right back, but we can't have a not a defensive right back, not a defensive left back. Who have we, like, you can't use that excuse for everybody. Somebody actually has to defend at some point, don't they? And we use that excuse for Johnson or Rio or whatever, that their job's not necessarily all defensive. But if we're also doing it on both sides, just leaving Ehekwe, who can only head the ball, anything like below his neck, has got no control over.
I think Rio gets a bit of a pass, to be fair, because I've liked what I've seen of him, and it's too early in the day to sort of say he's not at it defensively. I don't think we've seen enough of him for that. Valentin, I think, is more adept at playing as a right wing back rather than a right back. Unfortunately, our hands are forced, and at the minute, if he's not at right back, we can argue the toss about Liam Palmer. I'm not here to sort of stick up or otherwise. Palmer's not going to be playing right back anytime soon. And Iorfa, obviously, he was coming back from fitness, from an extended spell out with injury. So unfortunately, we are where we are when it comes to the players that we've got to pick. The reality is, 3-4 months ago, Max Lowe was never going to be playing, to our knowledge, as far as I'm aware. Max Lowe wasn't going to be playing left of a centre-back pairing. Ihekwe probably wasn't going to be first choice, but we are where we are with what we've got. So we have to play those players. But if we have to play those players, we know that we've got a manager at the moment who is getting a hell of a lot out of our limited resource, and you just want those players to do better. It's not necessarily a skill and ability thing, it's an awareness thing, isn't it? And I just think Valentin needs to be a little bit more aware. However, it came good second half, didn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, of course. We all saw it, those who watched, those that went. The first 45 minutes came and went with not much fanfare for us Sheffield Wednesday fans as going in 2-0. Made some changes at half-time. Danny did. It was, let's have a look. Smith came on for Charles, and Shalabar, we'll talk about him a little bit later in a minute, for Svante. So, I mean, a bit more, obviously 2-0 down, got a bit more attacking there with Smith for Charles, but then obviously having Shalabar in the middle. And then it was like a different, I don't know what he said to him at half-time. I can't imagine what Danny's like at a half-time team talk, but something happened. Or the players just looked at themselves and shook them, give themselves a good shake and went, look, we've been away from his families all week. We've been to Plymouth, we've come to Norwich, and we've put on this shite performance. But like I say, made the changes, and I think we had one shot. I've got it here. Gassama tried to kill one in the far corner. He looked a bit lively, Gassama, didn't he, again? And then we scored. Brace yourselves. We've scored from a corner. Simon, scoring from a corner. Unheard of.
Doesn't happen very often, does it?
Bannon managed to miss the first man. And in Ekwe, I've got it. And when I looked at the replay, I got him to be about 12 yards out in Ekwe.
It was odd because I think Paul thought he'd taken a touch as well, because he sort of put his arm up as if he'd scored. But yeah, it was actually a header on target from Ihekwe, which we haven't seen recently. And he's good with his head, and it's actually headed it towards goal rather than from either side or over the top, which he does seem to do on a corner. But yeah, it was great. I think he went from 5 at the back to 4 at the back as well, did he not? He sort of changed it up in midfield, because obviously if you give that Signs too much room in midfield, he'll just run the show, won't he? And when we played them at Hillsborough, we sort of marked him out of the game, and I think we neglected to do that in the first half. So by putting Shalabar in, it's a little bit more bite in midfield. And a Bannon corner that results in a goal.
I have to give a shout out to Molly from the women's supporters group, because every single week she says that Hector is going to score and he gets nowhere near whatsoever. So when that goal went in, she finally felt justified after like 3 years worth of saying that.
Does she have a bet on? Does she have a bet on as well?
I think
every
so,
week
but
puts a pound.
Hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
It is disappointing. It is disappointing because, as Holly said, from the waist upwards, he'll head a ball through brick walls, won't he? But when it comes to a corner,
him and Diorfa, they don't have anything waist down. They'd be shit at hula hooping.
Yeah,
they've just got no idea what's going on.
But the heads become 50 pence pieces when it turns to a corner, and the ball goes anywhere but towards the goal. So it was quite nice to see.
He managed it, didn't he? He managed it.
He did.
And then we've got what I've got my notes here. What I've got as described as the most Wednesday conceded goal to score for Wednesday than I've seen all season. So it was a little bit of pinball in the box and a bit of awful defending. Stevie, what did you make to the Windas's goal? Am I describing it as you recall?
In the moment, you didn't realise how chaotic it was. Really, did you? It was just manic, mental, and we almost made a silk purse out of the sounds here. Really, didn't we? With what happened, I think we need to give a lot of credit to Gassama, who didn't give up the Smith slice shot. Smudges hit one anti. I think I counted. There were 4 attempts at goal in that phase. Smudges was the second, I think it was. He's gone to hit it. It's gone up in the air. Gassama's nodded it back across, and then we've gone from there. And then Windass coming in and just stabbing through. It's the kind of, I think I wrote down when I was looking at the game again. It's the kind of goal that you'd be absolutely raging. Almost akin, although it wasn't exactly the same as the QPR one in injury time, wasn't it? Just a load of chaos. But fortunately, on this occasion, it came for us. And I think once that goal went in, there was only ever going to be one winner, and we were going to win the game from that point.
Did you feel that as well, Holly? Obviously, we equalised 2-0, and that was on, let me get it here, 72 minutes. So you still got 18 plus left.
I'm not going to lie. After the Norwich goals, I went for a little bit of a toaster bath because I just thought how many times I've seen us just go to bits. And then I come full circle because I have witnessed with my own eyes Norwich having the resolve of a wet leaf. So I feel like there was a vibe about it that they could feel as well. They knew that it were in our favour. So I think everybody in that stadium knew that it weren't going to end a draw and it weren't going to be in Norwich's favour. So yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Simon, go on.
It's a really tight little stadium, isn't it? It's very close to you, very close to the pitch. And Norwich have got, 25,000 sell out pretty much every game. And I think they've had a really bad set of results where they have thrown leads away. So, and they've done it at Hillsborough as well. We do have a bit of a hoodoo on them. So when you go 2-2 up and the Wednesday fans are going mental, and you've seen some of the videos from their ends as well, the fans were on them straight away. So I can imagine there was quite a lot of tension in the air, and it was just going to come.
Yeah. I think they're a bit like us in that they're not quite sure if they're good or if they're shit. And then when the shit, their fans sort of know what's happening. So equally, if we'd have been 2-0 up, 2-0's not enough for our fans to start celebrating because we sort of know we're always at risk. And I think they sort of had that same feeling.
They're also at that crossroads in regards to this is their last year of parachute payments. So this is the last year where they have a large influx of money from the Premier League. So
ages ago since they were good, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But they so in a way it's shit or bust because next season they're going to have to cut a huge drop in wages because we won't be having that money, and because of where they are on a small ground, they're not going to have they don't have a huge income from ticket sales. So
I think I saw a stat that we've got the most points from behind at something like 22, I think it is now, and I think Norwich have dropped the most points from being in front at something like 24 points. So they've gone way opposite Sheffield Wednesday, so I think it was something like that. But yeah, so they dropped 2 points because obviously Windass had equalised, and then Stevie, your guy Valentin put a long ball over to Windass, who added to his goal with an assist for Gassama on the back post, 4 yards out. He weren't going to miss that, was he? Which professional footballer had missed from 4 yards out, eh?
I have zero quarrel or sort of issue with Valentin playing that ball forwards. And I want to be clear, I'm not getting after Paul Valentin.
No,
it was just an observation in terms of where we are. Yeah. I thought the ball over the top was great. I think Windass, it was effortless. What he did was effortless. He's just created himself a little yard, and that ball that he's put in has taken out. Whether you can argue about the quality of their defending, but it's taken out the goalkeeper and 2 defenders, and it was the easiest of finishes for Gassama. I'd love to see if such a thing existed, some sort of metric or stat as to the margin of error that he'd have for the ball that he played in without it being able to be picked up by the keeper or intercepted by those 2 defenders. But it couldn't have been more than half a yard. And he's played that ball sort of 30 yards across the pitch for Gassama to hit it on the back stick. I thought the goal was outstanding. I thought, as simple as it was absolutely outstanding.
Well, that put us 3-2 up, obviously on the way to a win. And we're going to wrap this up, but I just want to put, and I mentioned him coming on as a substitute. And a lot of Stevie in the group chat and a couple others in our group chat did highlight Shalaba's contribution for the second 45. And we've seen glimpses of it all through the season. Do you know what I mean? So just bits of him coming on. Derby, I think, was the one that really stood out when he came on at half-time there. And I think, again, against Norwich, I think getting him minutes, getting him games, he just looked different class when he came on. Stevie, how did you go on, Holly? What was that,
cool.
sorry?
He looks cool. Bag, honestly. He's like the coolest man ever.
Yeah.
When he came on over there, I was just like, look at that man there. What a beast.
What about the football though, Stevie?
He's got, you can see why he's played for England, can't you? And it will be a variety of reasons why he is where he is in terms of his career trajectory, and he's now playing Championship football. A lot of that will be attributable to unfortunate injuries, time that he's had away from first team football, and I think he was he's obviously been quite unlucky. However, when he is on and he is at it, he's as good as anything that we've got, and I'll say that hasn't quite been as consistent as we'd have liked, but I think that's because he's been very much stop-start at the moment. I like what he does. He looks calm. He doesn't panic. He's probably the closest player that we've got to Shea Charles in terms of that level of finesse, if you like. When people come tumbling in, he doesn't panic with the ball. He doesn't worry when people are closing his spaces down. And he's very good. His vision's great. He reads the game really, really well. We just need that little bit of consistency now and a little bit more fitness, if you like. You want him to be able to get a run in the team. I think he's probably quite unlucky that we are where we are in terms of having Charles in there and also having Bannon as in. They're probably the two that are playing in that position that he would play. So that makes it a little bit more problematic, if you like.
I'd say that if he hadn't have got injured, we probably wouldn't have signed Shea Charles. I think that's the player that Danny sees Shalabar being. And then obviously got injured, and we brought Shea Charles in after he got injured. So I'd say that.
Well, good on him.
Good on him getting injured. But I think we wouldn't have brought him in, Shea Charles, if he hadn't have got injured, and he did, and it happened. So he's hopefully the Shea Charles for next season.
Oh, ciao. Yeah. All right, that was Norwich, 3 points on the road, capping off a great 2 away victories with Plymouth, adding to that 6 points on the road. So I'm going to go early. So some people are going to, no doubt, try and sell you some stuff. I don't know who it is because I don't listen to the adverts on here. So, see you in a minute. Yeah, and we are back. I must make a note of that minute because it'll take me ages to scroll through. So, yes, thank you very much. Guys, anyone do decent yesterday? No? Anything happen?
Do you know what, right? I feel... Oh, go on, Stevie, sorry.
I was just going to say, there's a Macron are doing a 50% off in Club Shop. That's decent.
Oh,
Molly got herself a new jacket with her own money.
Shadrach got a training top. It's quite nice, actually, like the mint green long sleeve one. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I paid for it, though, obviously.
Obviously. It's all right if you're a certain size, though, isn't it? If you're sort of small, medium, and then or 6XL, anybody in between that, there's a bit of a struggle getting a size to fit. So
Now, look at this. Get a shirt this big.
oversized.
All my shirts are that big, Holly.
Who gave you that shirt, Holly?
This is Ozzy's shirt, and it is going to be in the Rainbow Owls raffle if you want to win it.
So the raffling off a shirt worn by Holly off the Wednesday week.
It's Ozzy's
shirt. Worn by Holly. Given by Ozzy.
That's it.
O to H, O to O.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, right. Let's get into it. There was a small match of the Sheffield City Steel City derby yesterday, as Sheff United made their way over to S6 for the lunchtime kickoff.
So the worst build-up that we could possibly have to this game is those two games before it. I feel like if we'd drawn Norwich or just had some normal games where we didn't have a roaring turnaround where we came from 2-0 down, or we didn't absolutely thump somebody, I feel like we might have been a bit better. I hate derbies. I always think the worst. I really thought that they were going to batter us by 1 million goals. But then those two games give me that little seed of hope. And don't get me wrong, I'm very easy to sway on this. So I felt really sick. I thought we were going to lose. And every time somebody went, yeah, but we might win, I was sold, and I was like, yes, we're going to win. That's it. And I feel like the roller coaster of emotions started with the Plymouth and Norwich games. That did not help the vibes at all. Or did? It depends on what you think, but it's been a roller coaster in the build-up.
How are you feeling, Si, Saturday morning? Sunday morning, even. Saturday morning, I bet you were better than Sunday morning, but Saturday morning.
Sunday morning. What day was it when we had the match? It was Sunday morning. Jesus. I think I was the one who got berated for my prediction of 1-0 to them.
And you've shown yourself up really, Si, to be fair.
fair play to him, though. He put his cock on the block.
I listened to the preview show with Dan, Steve, and some guy from Sheff United, and sort of had a look at. I didn't think it was being a drubbing, but I didn't think we'd win because, our performance against the top 3-4 teams this season, I don't think we've got a point, have we, out of any of the games against top 4. So I thought it's a difficult ask, but they don't score a lot of goals. And then I had that glimmer of hope that Holly, it's the hope that kills you, innit? That glimmer of hope from especially a comeback from 2-0 down to 3-2, and what I saw at Plymouth as well. And I thought if all the ducks are in a line and certain players play to their best of their abilities, I thought Gassama would be the one who would be that shining light in the game and just give them a taste of what we've seen this season. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be, was it? So I went into it, neither here nor there, and it wasn't until I sat down and the cop roared and everything, that's when I suddenly realised, hang on, this is a derby game. And that's when I sort of got involved. But beforehand, I'm thinking, as long as it's not 4-out to them, I'm all right.
Stevie, what about you? What were your thoughts leading up to it?
It was a head and heart one. My head said that we were probably going to lose the game, but my heart had it in. There was the hope, as has been said, the hope that kills you, but there was the hope that given their shortcomings, if you like, or their relative shortcomings in terms of their back line, Suter having gone, Robinson not necessarily being the player that they would all go for, They talked a little bit about a couple of players that were missing, Sousa not being in. There was a reason for cautious optimism yesterday, and I just felt that at some point the tide needs to turn with our home form, and I don't think they pulled up any trees. They're no great shakes, and I mean this. I've got to be careful with what I say because I don't want it to sound like I'm bitter, and I don't want to get comebacks on the internet for saying that they're this and they're that. The bottom line is, and I mean this with the greatest respect, I can't argue they've taken 6 points off us. They're however many points in front of us, and they're in the conversation for getting an automatic promotion place. They're not the best team in that top three. They're not, and they're not the They're not the second best team in that top three. You look at the way that Burnley play football. Right. You look at the way that Leeds play football. I'll say it now, and the comeback will be, yeah, but we have, and blah blah blah. Without that goalkeeper, who I'm ready to have a total come down and sort of say, yeah, he is the difference. They are a team that is not reliant, and I wouldn't be sort of saying that. They're a team that are in a position that they're in because they have, let's call it, they have probably got the best goalkeeper in the league.
Great, get him sour.
No sour grapes. It's just it's my observation. So
you've absolutely nailed it. Nailed it, Steve. Absolutely nailed it.
I just feel that going into the game there was a chance, and the way that the game played out has proven that chance was always there. At the end of the day, goalkeeper at one end, and the bottom line is, unfortunately, yesterday Smith didn't have his shooting boots on or his head. And I saw a thing that Bullen on the live text of the match review, Bullen was saying he should have potentially headed that one down, that Cooper sort of tipped over the bar. However, it came at him really quick. But unfortunately, they had a little bit more in that one opportunity that they had, and we didn't.
I don't know. I feel like it probably weren't our best game, but I also don't think it was their best game. So I don't know if we can judge what they're actually like over the course of the season.
But that's because it's a derby, isn't it, Hol? It's a derby, and you're never going to get outstanding performances in a derby. You're not. It was the same at their place. You're not going to see teams that play against each other because it was blood and thunder. You go back and look at the highlights that they put out. It literally was, for that first half, although we were in the ascendancy, it was end to end. It was blood and thunder. It was tackles flying in. It was crowds roaring. It was long balls being thrown into the box from Robinson, from Patterson. It was tackles going in. It was everything, and it was a derby, and you're never going to get that out and out quality.
No, but United fans for a while have been saying about their performances haven't been great, but they've been grinding out 1-0s, 2-1s. They never win by a huge amount of goals. They've got some players in there they've got an amount of quality, and they agree entirely about their goalkeeper. And we saw that when he was at Plymouth, didn't we? Now, they said he was their shining light when he was at Plymouth. And I think that header from Smith, any other keeper, that's back of the net. And he made a great save. Well, you might disagree. I don't. I think any other keeper, it's back of the net. And he was their difference. He was their difference. He commanded the area. He very rarely palms it out. He grabs hold of the ball. And then in front of him, there was a couple of decent defenders in front of him, and they defended resolutely. Now, we huffed and puffed, and that's how the game went. And you're right, Steve. It's a derby, so that is a natural equaliser sometimes. But they always had that quality where it came to the point where you just need to give them one chance. And I suppose we'll talk about the goal in a bit.
Do you know what? I think the main difference to me was, other than the keeper, when we won possession back in our third, like in our defensive third, we kicked it at random, whereas they played it. Not necessarily played a pass along the ground, but it went to their players. Whereas the number of times we won possession back only to just lose it again, we didn't. I bet overall our pass completion is very low in that game. I looked it up specifically for Bannon, and his was very, very low. But across the board, I can only think of a couple of times where we won the ball around the box area and actually played a pass to somebody instead of just kicking it wildly, which their players then hoovered back up. Whereas their players didn't do that at all. There was a time in the second half in front of where I sit, where Johnson and Bannon passed it back and forth between each other and then played it out. And that's the only time that happened in the whole game. Every other time, somebody just thought, get it away. And fair enough. Sometimes you have to put your foot through it and get it out at all costs, but not every single time. And there were a lot of times where we didn't manage to get past the halfway line.
I don't think it helped when Lowe went. I don't think it helped when Lowe went off either.
Let's we'll pin that. Let's start at the beginning.
Sorry.
Let's start at the beginning. No, you're all right. Let's start at the beginning. Starting lineup for Sheff Wednesday against Sheff United. So we've got Beadle, Iorfa, Inekwe, Maxlow. What's up?
I'm just sorry, mate. It's not you. I'm just thinking about Dan. His head's going to fall off when he listens to this.
Why? What's up? Why? What's happened?
Us going all the way forwards and talking about absolutely everything before we've even got to the lineup.
Well, I thought we'd gone past
Charles,
it.
We've got so much to say.
Gassama, Windass, and Smith. Any complaints on that starting 11? I know we're getting light on players with injuries and stuff, but it's I don't think there's anyone for me there that should or shouldn't have started. What do you reckon?
I honestly don't check the lineup at all. If unless we're like, don't play keeper. Like, I honestly don't care. I'll support any old shit that turns up in a Wednesday top. I'm not gonna lie, especially in a derby game. Put anybody out there, they're a hero. I just don't check the lineup at all. I know we mentioned like about whether Charles should play in the Norwich game and stuff, and I suppose that were a bit of a bone of contention. But other than that, I don't really know what other lineup we could have put out. That's all we had really. Yeah, go on, Si.
I think they sort of alluded, didn't they, earlier on that we were going to be a little bit nasty. So when I saw Pato in the starting lineup, I thought he's in there for his shithousery. He's in there for getting down the throats and sort of, you know, they're always a high tempo game, aren't they? And he's the sort of guy that you probably need in those sort of games. So I thought there was nothing in there that sort of made me surprised at what we're starting with. You know, it was a team that, if we were going to have any shithousery, it would be that team would be the one you'd choose.
We've got a comment from a Blades fan. Maury the Cop Blade. As a Blade, I thought compared both lineups, thought he was going for it, and we were not. We didn't go strong. I think he's put there. I think I agree with that with the starting lineup of Smith and Pato. It's the first time since we won at Rotherham last season that Smith and Pato have started a game together. How's that one? How's that for your stats, wankers, eh? Danny's first win. I think it's the first time that them two have started together. I heard that today somewhere, and I may be proved wrong, but I heard it somewhere.
I think they have both earned the place as well, to be fair, and ultimately it as well as them both earning the place, other people have not earned a place. So I think
isn't it funny, because at the start of the season, if you'd looked at this game at the start of the season, would you have said that Smith and Pato would have been in the starting lineup? I mean, I know we've been sort of thrown into it with injuries and stuff, but probably not so much up front or in midfield, and yet they're certainly making claims to be amongst the top 10 best players this season, or certainly ones you'd put on the starting lineup.
What do you reckon, Stevie? Were you happy with the Pato Smith combination?
No real complaints, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the side effect picks itself, like we just discussed. What would we have rather have seen? Gassama's going to play. Windass is going to play. One of them two is going to play. Ban and Charles are going to play. You go through the back line. There's nobody else that could have come in. The only conversation to be had was whether or not you potentially put Ingleson in and left one of those players out, because I think the starting lineup was what it was. And I know there's been a couple of comments. I think Alex Middleton, if you don't mind, I'll just stick this one up, Ash. The lineups meant now, to be fair, it's all down to those who were bothered. Only 2 players wanted it more than them, Pato and Lowe. For me personally, I get that, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but you put that 11 players out on the pitch, you've got to think about how you're going to change the game and what you might impact. And I would potentially say that Ingleson could have started to give us something more off the bench. But, I don't know if that's the right call. Obviously, we've lost the game, so it wasn't what it was it? But that was potentially the only change I would have made.
I think this is, I know you're all going to roll your eyes, but the only other argument would be whether it'd be Marv over Rio. But especially, and this is in hindsight after the game, but I think Rio played like a shit version of Marv. So, and then Marv came on and was an improved version. So in hindsight, I guess it's, you possibly could have made that change.
Yeah, I think for me, we'll start off, but I thought the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought it was all Sheffield Wednesday, to be honest. I thought we really started well, and I've said to my mate who I go with and say the amount of times we've watched them this season, and between 0 and 20 minutes, most games we've seen, we've been on top. We've been a much better, started a lot better, just had the impotence about it. And what Stevie said about Pato, and I think that first 15 minutes, Pato was like a man possessed, but in a controlled manner. Yeah, and I really liked what he was doing, because we know what you get with Pato. He's on good goal-scoring form as well, so he deserves his place. But I think he was put in there for a reason, and we saw that reason for the first 15 minutes until he gets I'm going to say a stupid yellow card, which I think altered the course of the first half. I'm going to go that bold, because I think if Pato had continued how he was going on, he would have got more joy. But I think the stupid yellow card that he got, I think just hampered the ability for him to be confident to do what he was doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think they'll have been told to try and get some of ours on yellow cards. So then for us to just give it away so cheaply like that is so needless as well.
Yeah, if anyone recalls it was I think it was just a coming together with him and Diaz, and then he kicked the ball away in the direction of Diaz's head. I don't know. I just put it.
Well, he was laid on the floor.
He was laid on the floor. Diaz got up like a man possessed and went into Pato's face, and they both got a yellow card.
He was laid on the floor like he'd been shot, and then as soon as the ball hit him on the head, he was up quicker than he could possibly get up. Because was it a 50-50? They went in a 50-50, clashed.
Oh, there was nothing
and I think
to it.
No, there was nothing to it. He went down like he'd been shot, rolling around on the floor. Then Pato kicked the ball away directly at the player, which hit him, and then obviously yellow card. And then after that, I think there was it after that then when he got taken down on the halfway line, he got tackled from behind and just got wiped out, and the ref said play on. And it was a yellow card all day long, and the ref just had a word with him afterwards and didn't yellow card him. And I think at that point, Pato sort of changed, because it was like that, well, what am I going to get away with and what am I not going to get away with? Because the referee then went down this route of 1 minute it was a booking, then it wasn't a booking, and it just stunted his game then, because I don't think he knew what he was going to get away with. So in which case he was just like, I'll not try anything now, because I might get sent off.
Can I just say, though, like, obviously, it's a really crap yellow card to get. It affected his game when he was our most effective player at that time, and may have affected the outcome of the game. But secretly, that is quite funny, isn't it?
What? Your player smacking the ball at another player's head on the floor? Who's not going to find that funny?
Like, we sort of wanted him to do that, but with no repercussions, really.
Yeah.
Like, and then when they all turned up and started shoving him, and I just thought, you're shoving Pato and Smith and a tiny angry Scottish man. Like, what's your plan here? Because it's not going to work out for you, is it? And I just sort of, the crowd loved it. Really. But that's what you should get in a derby, isn't it, Stevie? You should get that little bit about it, that little bit of
Yeah, all right. He kicked a ball at him. It hit him in head. You'd expect Diaz to get up and go towards it, and then every player come in, don't they?
Yeah.
And that gets the crowd going. That gets the blue half, 3.5 sides of the stadium up on the feet, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's blood and thunder. I'm not saying that that's what you'd expect, somebody getting the ball kicked in the head, but you know you're going to get those flash points within the game, aren't you, going through? And even the little innocuous bits become amplified because it's a derby, and you've got 32,000 Wednesday fans and 3,000 United fans that are all coming at it and everything that goes around it. And I think one of the things that sort of makes it such a cauldron, such a phenomenal atmosphere when you go to these games, if you take out the nonsense that we may or may not get to around the hostility amongst the fans, is that it doesn't happen every season. It's not Liverpool versus Everton, it's not Arsenal versus Tottenham, it's not those derbies that are happening year in, year out, because of where we are in the league and, you know, the trajectory and the position, the journey that the two clubs are on at the minute. And this is the thing that we maybe got to sort of understand and realise and appreciate, that we are two clubs in the same city that are on very different journeys at the moment, and we're working hard to join that top table or be in the conversation for joining that top table, where they're there and they've been in and out of it. We're two different entities at the minute. We are, and as painful as that is as a Wednesday night, that's the reality. So yeah, you want to see those flashpoints in the derby, but they're amplified by the fact that they don't happen very often. They're crowing about having done the double over us for the first time since 2005, 2006, I think it is. How many derbies have we had since 2005, 2006?
Yeah,
there haven't been that many.
No.
You know, so where it is what it is. But you know, the only other thing I'd say there is we're talking about Patterson's yellow card changing the game, and as
the first half. I'm not saying the way that he came out the blocks at first 15 minutes, really man possessed, got the yellow card, and I think that just what happened for the next 20 minutes in that rest of the first half, I think just changed for me how Pato approached it. That's all.
Yeah, and my point there was going to be, as a sort of criticism potentially, if that is the case and that's how things are as a criticism, we've got to have a little bit more about us than just relying on Callum Patterson not getting a yellow card so he can go and impact the game. We need a plan B, we need a plan C, we need something else that we can go to in those moments where, if that's what's happened and when you look at it, that's what affected the game, what else could we have offered? Where else do we go? Do we look at Bannon, who, and I know we've got different opinions on how Bannon played. Do we look at Windass? Do we look at Gassama? Do we look at the way that these guys played yesterday, and whether or not they were at it and whether or not they offered the impact that we would have hoped and expected that they would have done? Shea Charles getting dragged, going forwards a little bit. Shea Charles getting dragged demonstrated that he wasn't the player that he's been, or didn't have the impact that he's had throughout the season. Although I didn't think he was particularly bad. I think there was a comment earlier on that popped up or that came on the feed. It was difficult to select a man of the match yesterday, and I'd agree with that because we were all much of a muchness.
Yeah.
Well, the first real chance for Sheffield Wednesday of much note was a great cross from the left, went it from, I'm going to butcher his name, Anna. Hard to say, is it?
Yeah.
At Sousa, I go with.
Sousa, is it? And Smith from 8 yards out, was it? Header and a fine stop by Cooper, wasn't it? I mean, points and all that of games that could change the game, that would have changed the game, no doubt. Any goal for Sheffield Wednesday, he should have scored it. I don't agree. Alex is just here. I agree with Stray, the keeper. I don't think it was a worldie of a save. To be honest, I think any keeper in the Championship should have saved it.
I don't think so.
Not the pace it was coming out.
No, and it's in open play, so you're saying it's in the middle, but when the ball's coming from that side, he starts off at the front post and he has to get across. He's also, I mean, he's not Beadle sized, so he has to get up high. I think it's such a good save. Smith gets a lot of purchase on it as well. It's
absolutely
coming fast,
right.
so he has to get a full hand. It's not just his fingertips. He has to get a full hand to get it away. I think it's deceptively.
It's getting across goal. It's getting up because you're right. He's not 6'8" or whatever he is, and it's also not having wrists made of biscuits, is it? Because there was some power on that header.
Yeah.
And he's come across. He's jumped up and he's put it over the top. It was a magnificent save. It was a magnificent cross, and it was a magnificent header. And it's just sad that it didn't go in the back of the net, because I think that would have changed the entirety of the game.
I agree. I really think. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, that's the thing when we were talking about whether or not he should have headed it down or should he have moved. All Smith can do in that moment is hit the target because of the pace it's coming. And because of the pace it's coming, and the fact it's a great header. It is a great header. And I know it's central and it is where it is. But if you look at the range of movement that Cooper has, he actually has to move his hand, his arm. He has to shift to get it up. It's not like he's just gone and it's there. He actually has to change the movement of his arm to get there. So I thought it was a great set.
It'll be on his highlights reel.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Yes, I did, Jay, because that's how he pronounced it on Joe Cran's little video when he first signed.
He did. Hard to say. Yeah.
I really do think that shot, had it gone in, especially because it was quite early and they were really rattled, I think it would have really changed it. And I don't know how many times, or if at all, we've played Sheffield United under Wilder where we've gone ahead. So I don't I'm not doubting that he's an excellent manager, which makes me feel sick to say, and that he's done his homework and blah, blah, blah. But is he too close to it that if we had gone ahead, that it might have got too much for him? Do you know what I mean? I just wanted to see how that panned out if that had gone in. And with it being in front of where I sit, I don't want to relive it, to be honest. Let's move on. I can't cope. I really thought about that.
I mean, how did you? I'm going to put this in a little bit of talking because I was aggrieved with it. But how did you find the ref handled the game overall? That's a sigh that I think we're going to agree on this one, Simon. I thought it was dog shit.
The problem you've got is, if we go back to the Patterson kicking the ball against the player, you're in a derby game is a game, whether it be us or Liverpool, Everton, Celtic, Rangers, where stuff happens in a game that you cannot explain because the tension is so high. And kicking that ball away, and then all the players kicking that ball, hitting the play, all the players piling in. I think a strong referee would have pulled them aside and had a word and just gone, because it was fairly early on, wasn't it? And just gone, bloody stupid thing to do. Calm down, you all, and just get on with it. And instead, he dished the cards out. But then you're getting, again, I'll talk about Pato getting wiped out in the middle of the park. Fine. Yeah, play on by Hamer. Play on, advantage. It all fizzled out to nothing. Went up to Hamer, had a word with him. That was a blatant yellow card. Absolute blatant yellow. He was so inconsistent. But the trouble is, it's not the first time we've had an inconsistent referee this season, is it? It's become almost the point of that we actually expect a referee to be poor, and when we get a decent one, we go, oh, he's actually been a decent referee. And we needed a good, strong referee in that game, because there were a couple of times where players, the number of times that, we were talking about in the group chat earlier, and I know Dan took exception to it, the number of times that their players fell over, and certainly when they went 1-0 up, and it just struck me that he'd set from the start he wasn't strong enough, and he just allowed the similar sort of taxes we saw at Bramall Lane, which comes from playing in the Premier League. It's that you fall over, he blows the whistle. Simple as that.
I do think part of it is that the refs for certain teams assume the intention behind what's happening. So, they assume our players are shitter. So if there's a little bit of 50-50 tackle, they'll think that our player is the one that's initiated it, and if and something that might be on the cusp of being a yellow, they assume that our players, they're worse players, so it is a foul. And if it's a better player for a team like Sheffield United, then they assume that they actually executed a bit better than they did, instead of it just being objectively that's a yellow or it's not a yellow. I feel like we got some cards that they then didn't get for similar things. And there was a tackle, I think it was I don't know if it might have been in the first half, that was on the cusp of being an orange, like not even a yellow. And I don't even think he did anything. And you just think, like, if that was the other way around and our player did that, he would have definitely given that against us. And I'm not being one of those that got, refs never do anything for us. But that's how I saw it. I just think he assumed that their players were better.
It was the tackle on Pato from Hamer, because the type of player that Hamer is. If he'd have got a yellow that early in the first half, we were talking about Pato changing his game because of a yellow.
Yeah,
we didn't get to see if Hamer would have changed his way of playing if he had a yellow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the ref, Stevie?
We've had many referees this season that were worse than him. In my opinion,
that's not saying a lot. There are a lot of part refs.
If I look at the game as a whole, I'm more frustrated at the fact that Ingleson missed his chance second half, and I'm more frustrated at the fact that we conceded the goal that we conceded, and I'm more frustrated about other bits than I am the referee, if I'm honest with you. Was he great? No. Was he a 1 out of 10? No. That's just my opinion, and you know, in the moment, I just didn't think he was the contributing factor. I don't feel he was the reason that we lost the game.
No, but you like the things I said. You don't know that it could have influenced the way. So apparently, he's a Premier League ref. Is it? He's a Premier League ref.
Oh, there you go.
Someone said to me yesterday. So he's obviously done something wrong, and he's come down to the Championship.
I love how they send them down to the Championship to punish them. You know, send them to the Championship, punish them.
So I mean, we'll get to the half time because the boss is going to be killing us. We're not even at half time, and it's nearly an hour in here. So, Sheff United didn't really offer anything that first half, did they?
There was 2 shots, weren't there, that grazed across the front, and they had players coming in at the back and just missed it completely and fluffed it completely, and that was it. That's only 2 sort of things I remember where the ball came across the front of our goal and 2 players coming in at the back post on those occasions missed them completely, and that was it.
Do you know what I thought that they would capitalise on more, and I really do think that they did the homework and the sort of managed Charles and Gassama out of the game, but I felt really deflated when Max Lowe went off and we put Valentin there and we put Iorfa in the middle. And if anybody has done any homework at all, just get somebody to run at Ihekwe and Iorfa down the middle with the ball at the ground. And it's like, you know, like when they say animals can't see you if you don't move. It's like, I don't think they can see it down there. So you just run at them with the ball on the ground, and they'll be like, what's going on? And I honestly think that they would have got a hat full of goals if they'd have just run at them 2 set. I mean, I don't think that they did bad. I'm not putting it all on that, but I really felt deflated at having them 2 in the middle, and that happened quite early on. Did it? I don't know what time it was that Lowe went off, but that happened quite early.
It was about 38 minutes.
38 minutes it was, yeah. I just think we've just had another Sheff United fan in, Jamie, who put the ball in the Wednesday net. Thanks for 6 points. And it's all right, Jamie. Thanks for the 0.001p for reviewing that we'll get on YouTube. So cheers, mate. Thank you.
Nice.
We'll put it towards the season ticket.
Thanks for joining with your very wise contribution, Jamie.
Yeah. I didn't think Iorfa did. I've always been on not on the Iorfa train. I've not been like a bit thing, but knowing that he's got a bit of a rick in him. I actually thought he was okay yesterday.
He had to be.
Well, yeah, I know that. But every time you step out on the pitch, you've got to be okay, haven't you? And he's not, is he? But
Ash, is that like Stockholm syndrome? I mean, he's been there that long that you love him? Because there was a back pass he played to Beadle that was like a scoopy waist height back pass, and he does that every time, and you just think, like, you are a professional footballer. What did you want him to do with that?
As soon as it went to those two at the back, our ability to play the ball from the back and went out the window, didn't it? And that was when you suddenly went, oh. And I agree, Holly, and there were chance that was missed by United. Was the fact is that they still kept playing it either over the top or down the wings. If they'd actually run at us, it could have been 2-3, 4-0. But they still carried on. I mean, they played a lot of hoofball at times, of which Ihekwe just headed it back to them, not to one of our players, just basically back to one of their players. So, yeah, the tactical masterpiece that he keeps saying he is didn't really take advantage of it, did it?
Put it this way, Ash. In the next few games, would you have that as a centre-back partnership? Would you be happy with that?
I offer an Ihekwe.
Yeah.
Might have any choice.
I'm gonna thanks, Steve. Thank you very much. I'm not gonna have you. Oh, yeah. Right. Shall we get to the talking point of the game? I know Stevie's looking at his watch there. He's
Mate, I can't. I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to show it. But the work chat's blowing up. So.
Well, it's got to be better than mine because my son, who's in the room just next door, just sent me a text message. Dad, I awful was awful. So he's obviously listening. But yeah, we can. I know this is our. It's not our job. We do this for free and all that sort of stuff. This is what we do on a Monday night. We do dissect the game, not to the tactical and statistical ability of some, but we do have a look at it. Who was shitter in the run up to the goal?
Jesus.
Because Stevie's face, because he hates it. He won't dig any player out, will he, Stevie? Cosdale, I'll ask you first. Who was? We've got to, because it was the 1 point talking point of the whole game, and I don't feel that Sheff United offered anything else apart from this. So
I think there were a couple of points where they've flashed the ball across goal, haven't they? In the first half, Brereton Diaz has had a couple of opportunities. Campbell's had a couple of shots here and there. So it's not fair to say they didn't offer anything. I don't think they offered a threat that got me clenching or twitching. But the moment that it's broken down that right-hand side, you kind of knew. I personally kind of felt it. And again, Ihekwe, I'd argue that if Lowe is still on the pitch, he holds up. Forgive me, I can't remember the United player that crossed the ball in. Was it Campbell?
Campbell.
Yeah, so Campbell just turns Ihekwe, and it was literally, effectively a drop shoulder, get to the byline and pull it back. And I think Lowe does better than Ihekwe, and I don't know if that's naturally because Lowe's a left-sided player and it's in that position that he'd be able to respond and react to it a little better. The ball goes across. Beadle palms it out. I'm undecided about Beadle, if I'm honest on that one, and I know that he's an easy target because he's the goalkeeper and he's the player that the ball hits and then it goes in. But again, the lad at the back, Valentin, I'm telling you, I'll say it. You go back and watch it. Valentin doesn't give him. He doesn't watch him. He doesn't look at him. He just drifts off Valentin, and it's an open goal. It's a free hit. For me personally, I don't think Valentin was in the right.
It's just a shame we didn't deal with it in midfield beforehand to stop actually Campbell getting the ball and going down and doing the echo into it. If Bannon hadn't been Bannon and Windass and Charles were all complicit in losing that ball by basically messing around with it in that area and just getting it away. So I agree. I agree. But it's Paul Valentin didn't pick his man up at the end. So yes, you're completely correct. But all the dominoes fell over to result to that goal. And we were talking. It's funny because we were talking about goalkeepers yesterday, me and my mate, and we were saying, in the good old days, and obviously I'm a Wednesday dar and all that, this, that, and the other, is a keeper like Ray Clemens wouldn't have even gone down to palm it out. He would have just gone up to that ball and hoofed it out with his foot. Why does the keeper have to go down and palm it? Why does he have to go down when, in fact, he sees the ball coming in, just kick it away? It just seems to be this situation of we go down and we palm out. And unfortunately, Beadle has, yes, he's saved us in many, many games, but also as well is And that was the difference, I thought, with Cooper in the second half when we were really at them in the last 10 minutes was he claimed the ball every time in his hands. And the one time where he did palm it out is, and we'll talk about it in a bit, was the shot from Johnson. And that was the only time he palmed it out. Every other time, bang, he's on that ball, coming out and commanding it. And in that time, so yes, you're correct, absolutely 100% correct. He left his man at the back, and how many goals has he scored now, Brewster? What is it? I saw earlier on, £2.6 million a goal so far.
You know what?
Around 4 or 5, I think.
The frustrating thing is that they had a sequence of play either before or just after the goal that was brilliant, and it involved about 5 of their players, and our guys had no idea where the ball was at all. It went around all of them. And if that had been the goal, I'd have just said, fair enough.
Yeah.
That were pretty good. For this, and Chef Cam's just said it, and Jay Blogs has just said about how naff it was. Like, Bannon tried this, like, farty ball that just were never going to work, and we lost the ball. And in such a dangerous area from nothing when we didn't need to do it, and we lost it there. And then Hekwe, I don't know what he was doing, and then he sort of gives like a little puppy dog eyes to the linesman, like, please give anything, which is never going to happen. And he puts his arms up like, please, and then tries to do something else, which, again, like we've said, the ball's on the floor, so he doesn't know what he's doing. And so I think both, because of where I sit, the Bannon thing and the Hekwe thing is right in front of where I sit. But once it's gone past the Hekwe, Iorfa is the next person. And why is it shouldn't even get to Beadle's hand, because Iorfa should meet the ball and get rid of it. And then once it's gone past Iorfa and it's gone to Beadle, where is Valentin? I'm not denying that Steve is right, but why are neither of them? Iorfa and Valentin had no idea where Brewster was at all. Why did they not know? Why did they not anticipate that Beadle might save it? And then where is it going to go after that? What was the purpose of either of them being there? Because the position of both of them, they're never going to get the ball from where it's going. And I know, like, it does spin back, like, quite lucky, not lucky, but favorably in their favor. But I think it will pour from all of them. It's almost like Iorfa and Valentin went, oh shit. Like, once it had gone past Hekwe, they both went, like, they must have assumed it weren't going to get there. I don't know why, but they had no idea where Brewster was at all. So I think it's actually all 4 of them that were responsible for it. It's such a rubbish goal to concede. And I'm so disappointed in it. If it, like I say, if it had been that move beforehand that was really good, you go, fair enough. And we've had that against other good teams where you go, do you know what? Fair play. But to concede that goal is just.
I think Alex Middleton says it good here. It was a colossal screw up. Pass to Campbell should never happen. Cross from Campbell should never happen. It should not get through to Brewster. Brewster shouldn't have been open.
Yeah. And where's Rio in all this?
Agrees with all. It was off. He came off into subbed, wasn't it?
At this point. Oh, so who's on that side?
Johnson, was it? Oh, no, sorry, no, the goal was before. It was Rio Johnson.
Yeah, but we're not even talking about him being involved, so where was he?
Yeah.
So he's so far out of position that he's not even involved in what we're on about. It was bad from everybody, and those lapses in concentration are ultimately why we're neither good nor shit.
Yeah.
So,
Steve is leant forward.
Uh-oh.
He's going to say no.
It
was usually something.
I was waiting for a tap his watch.
What I will say is I do think that was one of Bannon's worst games, and I know Stevie disagrees. And I have got a little bit of a bee in my bonnet about derby games and Bannon, not just Sheffield United, but the Barnsley games as well from when we played them. I don't think he's been particularly good in them, but and his pass completion was poor. I think something like his medium passes were 60% completion rate, so that low. But then somebody did put up the stat that he has started 290 of the last 314 games. So it might be more of a fitness and a we've had 2 long drives, 2 tough games where they've had to properly grind it out, and it might be that rather than that it's a occasion thing. Only missing 24 starts in 300 and odd games is absolutely insane, to be fair.
It is for his age as well.
I'll give him credit for that. What do you mean? We're in his prime, I was in his mid-30s.
I wouldn't know. That's quite a while ago.
in that defence, and I agree with you, Holly, on that. But in not Bannon's defence, but in the game's defence, there was Windass that didn't really turn up either. Shay Charles, like we said, was hooked. But we can sit here and pick out probably 5 or 6 players, couldn't we? That were and what Stevie said earlier, and I think it was a comment that somebody made on the chat. We put out the man of the match poll, and yeah, you're scrapping around, are you? Looking at someone who put, I think people voted for Pato on there because of these first 15 minutes. Yeah. So it's Stevie, you used to play football at a half decent level, didn't you? How do you miss an open net from about 3 yards out? I know this context in that, but
I was just about to say, you ask anybody that's ever played with me, they'll say Stevie would miss from 3 yards out quite easily.
yeah, I've seen you from the side, mate. Hey, never out the second gear in 5-a-side.
I don't know. It's typical. The initial shot is good, and it just reminded me when you were talking about Beadle and the situation there. It's horses for courses, and it's one of the reasons that I find it very difficult to get after Beadle for what he's done. I know it wasn't exactly the same situation, however, Cooper's palmed it out with his non-Poppadom biscuit wrist, and he's palmed it out straight to our player who's not stuck it in the top corner. It's unfortunate. It's just one of those things. People might argue that it's come at him quick. People might argue that he needed to react. It almost felt, looking back at the Norwich game before that, Gassama sort of slotted it in from a similar sort of position on the other side of the goal as you're looking. Could he have done better? Only he knows. Am I holding him entirely accountable, saying it's miss of the season? Absolutely not, because of everything that was going on in the circumstances. But it did feel like it was one of those. He should have scored, and I have a vivid recollection of being out my seat with my head in my hands like that, going, how's he missed that at the time? And that kind of, it was the death knell, really, wasn't it? At that point, you knew it wasn't going to be our day.
I couldn't see that second bit. So the ball came across, and if there was like a football fan version of Gogglebox, I had a bit of an out-of-body experience when the ball came across and I saw Marv's leg go side volley. I honestly actually had an out-of-body experience because I thought that were going to be it. And it was going to be like the best thing that's ever happened in football ever. So anything that happened after that, I was just recovering from what I thought I'd seen. But
it were a great shot from Marv. It was a superb shot from Marv.
Times and it worked.
And it were a good save. And I think I agree with, I don't know who put it, Craig. It come out that quick. He was running in at back post for Antis Fante, and I think it just hit him as he was running in. I don't think he even put a shot in. It just came off some part of his body. And if it had gone in, Jesus wept. I said we were pressuring, weren't we, in the last few minutes? And I said to Ethan, if we score it, roof's coming off. That old rickety Presto roof and everything else it's just coming off with the noise. But then it didn't, and we went home disappointed.
Which is happened quite a few times this season, going away from S6, isn't it?
We don't have the best of form at home, do we, Ash?
The only thing I want to add as well, there was a chance for Windass as well, which came out to him, didn't he? And he side-footed it, and I think one of their players slid in and blocked it where he could have. Either, I don't know, easy to. We're going over it now and going, if he just put his laces through it, he'd have gone in top corner. If he'd have just chipped it, all these ones, it's going to be.
And I think that's the story of Sheff United's season this season, is they've got a goal and then they've ground results out of 1-0s, and they throw the bodies in the way and they just defend. It's not pretty, it's not nice, but it's in the top half of the table, isn't it?
I'm going to ask for your last thoughts on the whole derby and yesterday result and everything. Just give me a quick couple of lines, please. Holly, what was your thoughts after yesterday then?
Well, I've booked to go to Cardiff. So I'm already over it.
Bring it on.
Yeah, forget it. It's gone now.
Stevie?
Disappointed, frustrated. They've got bragging rights, 6 points, position, lots more money, a manager who is, literally rubbing salt into the wounds, and we've got to take that. However, for the neutral, I think any measured person would look at it and go, there's not 10 positions between us and this many points and anything else based on the 2 performances over the season. I thought we were not unlucky. I thought we were hard done to yesterday. They had their opportunity, we took it, and they've got all the bragging rights that come with it. And I hope we get to play them again soon with a respectable manager or a reasonable manager that can do a decent job with all our fully fit players, and we'll see where we are from there. We move on.
Simon?
I, like Holly, will be going to Cardiff a week on Saturday. And the season isn't over Sheffield Wednesday. We've got a number of games left. We're going to palm as many points as we possibly can. I think Daniel Rowley's already looking at how many points we can get to the end of the season. We might sneak in the playoffs. We might not. But the higher up the league we finish, the more money we get from the league. And then we move on to next season. It's done, finished. Don't really care anymore.
We haven't got any more of them top 4 to play, so
it's in our hands, Age. It is in our hands now. We've got players coming back. I think Femwo played in the under-23s the other day, which is only good news. We've got 2 weeks off. Let's come back fully charged. Go down to Cardiff. Let's get some points down there. The sad thing is we've got more home games than we've got away games now, haven't we, till the end of the season? And our own form has been pretty shy-bo this season, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
When you just said it's in his own hands, I just thought, oh
no. On mine, it's done. It was done at 2:30 after the game. I've forgot about it. I know I'm very different to a lot of Sheff Wednesday fans and you lot and everything, but it was just a game. It's 3 points we haven't got. That's it. There's 24 points left, 8 games. We've proven last season that it's not over until it's mathematically over. So, and I know this is a very, 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 very different situation. It's the other end of the table, but why not? Do you know what I mean? As long as we don't come to the last game and we're, 4 points and not mathematically, even if we've got minus 30 goals, which probably we will have, it's still mathematically possible. So you've got to look at it that. I haven't watched any of the post-match Wilder comments because I don't want to. I'm not interested in what he has to say. But what I've seen from people commenting on here tonight and what on X and Facebook and everything is saying that they've ended our season. Well, he's master shit because he hasn't, has he?
No.
So I don't get that, but we
our season will end when the team that beats us makes it mathematically impossible to get into 6th beats us. So if that's Middlesbrough in however many weeks, and it means that we cannot get into the playoffs anymore, that's when our season ends. I don't care what Chris Wilder says, and for that very reason, I'm not going to say I respect him, or otherwise I'm not going to say I like him, or otherwise I'm not going to say I've got any sort of envy towards a man. We are operating on very different levels in terms of the manager that we've got on in a lot of different ways. You come back and look at us, look at where these 2 managers are in 7, 8, 9 years' time. One of them will be managing at the top level, and the other one may or may not be managing at Sheffield United.
I think I agree with you a little bit, Steve, but I think the season ends obviously at Watford because I think where we
it's the last game.
No, in respect to what we're playing for, because I think people are saying the season ends if you don't get playoffs, and it's like, but if we finish 9th or 8th, that is a massive improvement from last season.
Hugely.
It is.
And I think the
It is.
two, if you 10th to 8th, we finish 8th. I think that is, even if we finish 10th. I mean, that is a much. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I totally agree with you, and absolutely 100% on the same page as you there. But it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Are we
Dream,
But
hope that kills you.
But that's why
all of that.
But that's why we're Sheffield Wednesday fans and we're not Man City fans or whatever. We know the hope's been killing us since I first sort of walked through the door at Hillsborough, and it will do to the point where my ashes are scattered outside Hillsborough. It'll be in our bloods forever, and it doesn't matter being successful, and we'll do the double over certain teams, and we'll lose and we'll win many more. It finishes, as Ash says, at the end at Watford. And mate, if we finish in the top 10, that's a great result compared to where we were when we were at Sunderland at the same time last year, where we thought this could see us in League One. Yeah.
That was it. Obviously, we've seen a statement that's come out today from the club. There was 34,000 fans, nearly 34,000. I don't want to overquote this. 33,687, something like that, fans there. But obviously, there was some incidents in the game. Namely, there was a firework banger thrown on the pitch when Sheff United scored. There were lots of coins and things thrown by some of the fans. So the club have put out a pretty strong statement today, just reiterating that obviously they don't stand for anything like that. And it's right, it shouldn't happen at any ground. And that's to both sets of fans as well, because we have seen on social media there's been bottles in the Leppings Lane and throw both ways and all sorts of things. But yeah, the club are pretty staunch on that, which is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Guys, I think we've done well there. I think the boss is going to be happy with that because he doesn't have to sit here and upload it because that's mine tonight. So has anybody got any other business, football or other related?
No.
Have you got one, Ash? Have you got one?
Only, well, the one that's going to be probably every week for the next few weeks is that, you've heard for the last couple of weeks that we are accepting Easter eggs again. So we are doing our annual Easter egg drop. So we will be outside the Meg store on 5th of April, which is the Hull City game, and the 12th of April at Oxford United, that is, not City. So anyone in the ticket office listening to that, that's Oxford United. Okay. That was some great thing that the Oxford City. I love how they put fair play to the intern for having a bit of a mare. We've all had one of those days.
I like how they said that the club sent 4,000 tickets and they send in 3,997 back.
Yeah. So, I don't know what stand they're going to be in for 4,000, but Easter egg. So come and meet some of us, all of us, none of us, one of us. On those games, we'll be accepting your Easter eggs, and for every donation that you make, which Stevie alluded to earlier, you'll get a £75 gift voucher for the club. You won't. You'll be put into a draw for that, so you've got the chance to win it, which just happens to be this week that they've done a 50% off. So I do apologise that it's not for this week. So £75 in the draw for a donating egg. So anyone who wants to can do. And if you want to get a big collection from work or put a poster up or thing, then I am more than willing to come and pick them up from you, because I've got no else better to do. And it'd be good to get out and meet some of you as well. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Be nice. Stevie Spence.
Can I just say on that last bit, and then I'll shut up for the night. He does great work, and I talk about that all the time. However, if you follow us on socials, please like and subscribe, as we said at the start of the show. But if you follow us on socials, we will keep putting the graphics out. Can you please share that far and wide? It's not for us, it's for what we're doing. Share your graphics in group chats. Share the poster that we put up with people at work, get posters printed out, get it all sorted, get as many people that we can reach with this as possible. Not for the podcast, but because of the cause that the podcast is supporting. Because at the end of the day, it's a phenomenal thing that we're doing. That's come from, let me get my arrows right, this guy up there, that one up there, yeah, not him,
Good
the great
looking,
old man,
the good looking one,
the one up there. Just share it. We'd appreciate it. We don't have 3 games this year. We only have 2. And we'd love to get in the ballpark of the number that we got last year, which is around about 650, I think it was. If we can get anywhere near that this year, it'd be great. I want to see Ash's front room littered with chocolate eggs again.
Is it the same charities, Ash, as last year?
Yes, it is. It's cheers, Simon. It's still Children's Hospital and Pact, who we do a load of work with as well. So any companies out there who you work for or know of that want to shove a load of eggs my way, we've already had one massive donation from a friend of the podcast, Mr. Meadows himself, Tom Burton. He's given us a good donation, so thank you, Tom, if you're listening. But yeah, anyone who wants to do that, just let us know, DM us, email us, whatever you want, and I'm more than willing to come and fetch them from you. Holly, it's great to have you back. Thank you very much. Stevie, Simon, it's a pleasure as always. That's it from another edition of the Wednesday Week. Oh, I'm glad that Derby day's over. We'll be back next week. Cheers.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week. Bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.